Good evening, everyone. This is your soul brother Taalib. Okay, this is just going to be a general discussion topic. Uh, where do I start at? Well, today, brother Angel Snup Snup 7 sent me a link to a video, and our brother, by the way, who y'all know of Reality Temple Ministries. Again, he sent me a link to a video about a very serious, alarming situation that's going on in this nation of the United States of America, the richest country, so they say, on the planet Earth, the most vibrant, materialistic country on Earth. But however, we have a big serious situation that contradicts this fact, even though it is true that this country has an abundance of wealth. But what contradicts this fact as well is that we have a very big, large homeless population, which at times in my life, during different periods in my past, I was among that, unfortunately, homeless population in different cities and stuff that I've lived in or been to around America. So I definitely empathize with these homeless people as well as identify with them. And this here is not no racial thing. This here crosses all different boundaries when it comes to so-called race, ethnicity, sex, or religion, or whatever you may be, atheist or whatever, This transcends across all social lines when it comes to human beings in this country. And these human beings, unfortunately, that I'm speaking of, are a part of the biggest homeless population in a country that's considered to have so much more vast wealth than any other nation in this world. But they have more homeless people than any other country in this world. And that includes one of the two other biggest countries with the biggest populations, like Russia and China, who don't even have that many homeless people put together. So what is wrong with the United States? Just like we have the biggest, jail and prison incarceration rate of any other country in the world. Well, homelessness is the most second serious thing right behind that. And with that said, I watched this video by this sister. I believe her name was Tracy Cabrera, if I'm not mistaken. Because she does have a YouTube channel that video was posted on. So I don't want to get her name mixed up, but I think that's the correct name that I'm using. But she spoke, in a documentary on the serious situation of the homeless problem going on out there on the West Coast in Los Angeles, California, and how the city of Los Angeles just recently came up with a new ordinance law that the homeless people are not any longer allowed to sleep in their vehicles anywhere within the city limit confines of Los Angeles. So that there, of course, compounds another problem on top of more problems that already exist with this homeless situation, especially that's impacted LA for so long and other big cities like Los Angeles throughout this country. And you know, she also said that the similar thing is happening in the city where she is from, which is Philadelphia. And of course, I frequent I frequented the East Coast, years ago, and up and down the East Coast. Not Philly, but I did frequent places, of course, like where I was partially raised at, such as New York City, and Baltimore, Maryland, and the the whole entire DMV area, which stretches from Maryland through DC all the way down to Virginia. And I also experienced homelessness in other places further south down that same East Coast. So, I mean, it's no joke, you know. And other places I've also around the country experienced homelessness at different other periods of my life. And like I said, it's something that I don't never want to go back to, nor go out my way willingly to, go back to in terms of putting myself back in a predicament like that. But I do, like I say, emphasize with those who are presently in that unfortunate condition of circumstances. And it's a lot of people out there that's having hard times, and for whatever different reasons, that's not my job to even sit up here in this video and talk about that, because there are people, especially like when she did that documentary video about LA and, and up and down other parts of that West Coast, especially those who work even in Silicon Valley out there, can't even afford a place to stay. I mean, you talking about people that's making around 100-some thousand a year, but can't afford a place to stay. I mean, so like I said, man, it's crazy. It's crazy out there, and like I said, all the way stretching from San Diego, LA, all the way up to Seattle, Washington. I mean, that West Coast, I mean, it's very unbearable. If you ain't got the type of, six figure or more, yearly income or more than that to be able to manage to stay out there and, that part of the United States, it's going to be really rough. And it's just as rough as it is on the East Coast, like in New York and, like I said, Baltimore, DC, where you have a big, humongous homeless population. And even in Atlanta, Georgia, so, I mean, it's not no joke. This is for real. And I also, witnessed, being on the streets briefly in Chicago and experienced even that from time to time in my own native Detroit, Michigan. So I've seen that, and it's no game. Fortunately today, I've, made a transition in my life where I ain't got to live like that. But however, I still don't forget those where that's where I was. That is where I have been. I don't forget about those where I come from, is what I'm saying. And it's not a game. That's serious, Some people, Some people make it, you know. Hey there, brother Taalib. I seen your text, okay. Brother Taalik. Yes, sir. But you know, like I said, yeah, this is a serious situation. You know, this is nothing to play with. You know, you could lose your life. I've seen places, I've been in situations where been in shelters where you might not even wake up to see the next day with your throat slit. Or you get into an argument with the wrong kind of people in there, or some jump off just over something simple, and you end up losing your life. And you know, you got to worry about people stealing whatever, you know, personal belongings you got and all kind of crazy stuff, you know. That's not no life for no one. And I wouldn't, that is something I wouldn't even wish on my worstest enemy. I mean, for real. That's just like not wanting to wish, you know, going to jail on somebody. You know, homelessness is a very serious thing. And you even got children out there, babies out there, that's suffering. You know, with homelessness because of whatever circumstances they parents drug them out there into for them to be in that situation along with their parents or family or whatever, you know. And some are just even homeless because they are runaways or whatever the case is, but homelessness is homelessness no matter how an individual gets to that point in life. You know, that's just a dark place that, you know, is worse than just looking at a nightmare movie. I mean, because that's just the reality of what it is. And when I see even the other videos when they interviewing homeless people in different cities around the country, it's like, wow. It even, you know, confirms to let me know that it's getting even worse, even more than what it was when I was homeless out there in the streets, you know. So like I said, it's no game. And like I said, I'm not counting out the fact that it can happen again, depending on the situation and circumstances of things. But it won't be because I willingly put myself in that type of bind. You know? But, I mean, things is happening in America generally that would drive people to being homeless, whether they want to be or not. Whether they even do something to put themselves in that situation. See, this is what I'm saying. You know, we are headed for another economic recession. The way things is looking, you know. And with this stuff, with Donald Trump is doing, which is, you know, causing this situation to get to that point in this country, you know, where it even will be worse than that. Worse than even what our ancestors experienced in the 1930s, which was almost a century ago. Being in, you know, stretched out long street line, bread lines and stuff, soup kitchen lines, with thousands upon thousands of people waiting in line just to get a bowl of soup or something, you know. I don't think half of this population in this country today could survive something like that. But I mean, this is where we're headed. And this is why, you know, I constantly remind us that things in America would not always remain the same. Just like in the case with a lot of other countries, which history has proven. You know, things may not remain the same, like with America being the wealthy country that it is, with the resources it got, let alone to help more people than its own inhabitants that's living in this country. And what's so funny about it, or rather crazy, is America is willing to help immigrants who are not even citizens of this country, or help other countries where other populations live in other countries around the world before they help their own people right here in a country that has so much abundance of wealth. And what's so crazy, like I said before, is that, you know, this is the reason why, because of greed and corruption, that, of course, this country is being pushed to a point on the brink of falling on its face. Because anywhere you got corruption and greed in the world, things just don't remain the same. Like I said before, history has proven this constantly over and over. Throughout humanity, as well as throughout, the entirety of humanity on this whole planet Earth. I mean, we saw, the fall of the Soviet Union. We saw, what happened with the United Kingdom that's caught up in this brisket situation. We saw Germany when it was at the height of its own greatness as a world power under Hitler. We saw, other different civilizations that was just as powerful as America at one time or another in history and fell to its face. And it's no different with America. And this is only a sign to let us know that this thing here is getting much worse. In words, just like what the sister said in that video documentary which she did about the Los Angeles homeless situation, But this country is it's getting very worse. Where now, like she was saying, people can't even sleep in their own vehicles that they bought and paid for. What kind of stuff is that? It's already bad enough they on the streets. But you want them to sleep on the sidewalks? But you want them to sleep on other people's residential porches? And stuff like that? Or in front of people's doors? You want them to do that? Well, at least they got their own vehicles that they could sleep in. A lot of them don't even have that. So they have no other choice but to sleep wherever they can, or if not in a regular homeless shelter, So, I mean, which I describe where the conditions could be very tumultuous and inhumane, So, I mean, like I said before, you're in a situation. We're seeing a situation right now in this country like never before. And with that documentary that I saw from that video link brother sent me today, confirms to me where America is headed. Far as in a much more darker place than ever. Than this country than ever witnessed in the entirety of its own history. So I mean, it's like people could keep thinking that doo-doo don't stink, I mean, doo-doo stinks. I mean, no matter, in what terms of effect, it stinks. And the reality is that sooner or later, it's going to come to a point where it's going to be too late when reality comes slapping people in the face. When they are outdoors and ain't got nowhere to go because they done lost their jobs, or their jobs and laid them off because of this crazy economy that's getting worse. Or because, they can't no longer draw money out the bank. Like what we saw few years ago over in Greece. I mean, and these are recent modern times we have been witnessing stuff like this, you know? So, like I said before, and by the way, Greece is still not fully recovering from that situation. Matter of fact, Greece is struggling still to this day because of that economic downturn that they suffered a few years ago when people couldn't even go to the bank and draw money out. And once they were able to draw money out the bank, they was told how much they could draw out the bank. You know, I mean, that kind of stuff there is staying right at the doorsteps of America. You know, and like I said before, you know, those who believe that Trump was going, you know, save the situation for a whole nother day. Now, many of them, I'm pretty sure, are, you know, sitting up with their head stuck between their butt cheeks, I guess, because they realized that this guy was totally opposite in the promises that he had made to them in order for him to get elected. You know, they thought that he was going to really make America great again. Well, of course, as we know, for the common white Caucasian population of this nation, but we also know that that he was going to try to make America great again in terms of being much more the way it was for those non-Caucasians who live in this nation, you see. And now the situation is that he is, you know, is backfiring. And everything in the attempt that he's tried to do to bring the country back to this point is backfiring. And those that supporting him is backfiring in their face. And some of them can't deal with it. So now they out here doing crazy stuff like committing mass shootings and all this other crazy stuff they doing. I guess to get attention or whatever, because they can't have their way. Well, those days of so-called white privilege is over with, buddy. You know, it's just that simple. This thing is going down for real. And you have those, you know, among the Caucasian population of this nation who are of the intelligent ones, in some cases that are leaving this country and have left this country. Now, when you get Caucasians that are fleeing this country because they see what's coming down the pike, that should definitely tell the darker skinned population of this country something. But you know, because of those among us as dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in this country, you know, we rather remain comfortable in our oppression and not want to, as some say, strategize a plan or put together a plan to get out of America, or just pack up and leave and salvage whatever you can and get the heck up out of here, even on an individualistic basis. Because, you know, waiting, like I've always said on a bunch of tens of other millions of Negroes, just ain't gonna cut it. We gonna have to do stuff on our own individual terms in order to survive this next storm that's coming, which is this way, this time to America, as we've seen and witnessed taking place all throughout the rest of the world over the years. You know, so like I said before, this thing is going to get very, very worse in time. And it's not going to get any better. And like I said, yeah, I see these different, Democrat presidential candidates, uh, making different promises on what they gonna do if they get in the White House and all this. But, that's the job of a politician. In order to get elected, they got to appease to what the people want, just like Trump did. But we see how that's turning out, why he's in there right now. So, I mean, like I said, this system is going to have to be totally broken in order for it to be different altogether. And that's just as simple as that. But see, for those of us that are dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America, it's not our job to wait around either to see whether or not this system is going to be entirely broken. Because even if it is entirely broken and they try to fix it back to even being something else different, it's definitely not going to be for the benefit of dark-skinned descendants of slaves born here in America, like it never was anyway. For going on 500 years. No matter what struggle we tried that didn't work in our favor, we was always pushed back some kind of way from obtaining true total equality as citizens in this country. So, like I said, our history alone explains why we need to, if we ain't gonna leave this country like somebody say, set up a safe haven, like taking politically control of a state, like Mississippi, where's a lot of us at. And we could start from there. Then, work our way to Alabama, Georgia, and, in other different parts of America, where states where it's a lot of, black people, where we can, set up safe havens for ourselves away from the rest of this madness that's going on. And the proposal of the Mississippi campaign that me and brother Taalik of Reality Temple Ministries brought, to the attention of those of you out there in social media land, it just continued to fall on deaf ears mostly. And this proposal we brought had all the ingredients that could turn our situation around. With the right type of mechanics. But yet many ignored it and took it for a joke. So when, the time comes with things getting worse now, and when these white folks decide to make a move on us, as far as these concentration camps and mass graves, you can keep accepting it as a joke, And furthermore, I just want to also say this too, is that, I have no sympathy for people that don't want to be free, from our slave-like condition. I don't have no sympathy. I've gotten to the point, and I want to share something too while I'm in this general discussion on that. I've gotten to the point that usually when I flip, through the internet and scroll over the internet and see articles in the news on people that done been shot by the police. I'm talking about other dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America that has suffered that same fate, like Trayvon Martin or Michael Brown or, Freddie Gray or, Eric Gardner or Alton Sterling, and the list goes on. flip it, I flip on past it. I don't even read the article. And if I do, I read very little of it and keep on flipping on to something else. Because my motto is this. You know that this is the type of society that we live in, which is, governed under so-called white supremacy, racism, And so what do you expect in a society like this? So, hey, therefore, I'm not saying that I don't care about what happens to our people, but how can I continue to have sympathy for people that don't want to be free from that situation? Especially those who know what type of situation this is that we find ourselves in as so-called black people or African Americans or whatever you want to call yourself, as dark-skinned descendants of slaves born here in America, But yet, whether you want to call yourself Moors, Kemetic, Muslims, Nubians, Christians, Hebrew Israelites, or whatever, some of you know what's going on. Some of you know the truth. Some of you are even in a position that got the resources which could be collectively brought together to help turn this thing around. So, like I said before, I don't have no sympathy for people that don't want to be free. So that's why, like I said, when I hear about different stuff, like the police shootings and, lynchings or whatever going on, I just, flip on to something else. Because it's like, hey, at the end of the day, you don't want to be free. You still want to be among your oppressor over here. The same oppressor that's been, staring you down the neck for over 400 years. You still want to, be among them. So this is what you're going to keep getting. And I mean, to be honest, I know that I'm subject to the same fate, being a dark-skinned descendant of a slave born in America, And I just want to also say this also, is that I just found out recently that I have more not grandchildren, but I have more grandnieces or grandnephews, rather to say. That was just born in this world. And I saw one of their pictures, and I just looked at the sight of the innocent baby, and I said to myself, I'm like, they just don't know what they was born into, being a dark-skinned descendant of a slave born in America. And these are relatives of mine that I'm talking about, But they just don't know what they were born into. And the choice that their parents made, which was foolish, to bring them into the cesspool, already with them knowing how it is, living in this hell that we've been finding ourselves in as dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America for over 400 years. So, like I said, I mean, is a relative I never even met yet either. But hey, I feel for them right now. Because they don't even know what they about to experience, especially if they live long enough to get older, to know the difference. they don't even know what they're about to experience. Being a dark-skinned descendant of a slave born in America, and this is just, I mean, this is crazy, Like a sister was talking about in another live hangout video just recently that I was also in, about these people, these sisters and brothers recklessly laying up, having these babies, just bringing them in the world of discomfort and misery just to be slaves, and I mean, it's just, man, I mean, but like I said, so don't get me wrong or don't get my words twisted. I care about our people, and like I say, every day I walk up out here, I know the reality is chances that I could lose my life at the hand of a racist cop or a racist just because I'm a dark-skinned descendant of a slave born in America. I know this reality exists, okay? This is not no game. I understand and know what it is. I've lived on both sides of the Macy-Dixie line. I've lived on about all the four coasts throughout this country. So I know what it is to be a dark-skinned descendant of a slave born in America. I know what chances I take just being here in America, period, as a dark-skinned descendant of a slave born in America. So I know I don't mistake that at one moment that I could lose my own life just because of my existence here in America as being a dark-skinned descendant of a slave born in America, and just because of the fact that I am a dark-skinned descendant of a slave born in America. This is not no game. We're the number one targeted people of all people in this country. So yes, I understand that clearly. Okay? And like I said, I don't get that mistaken. But my point is this, is that, I cannot worry about people who don't want to be free, like me and certain other people that I deal with in my small circle, because if you don't want to be free, that means either you gonna help keep me in the bucket with the rest of the crabs, you see, or I just got to move on. This is just that simple. You don't want to be free completely from your over 400-year-old slave oppressor. And I mean, like I said before, this takes me back in history, when our ancestors, the ones I'm talking about that attempted or was able to escape off the slave plantation, but yet you had that one, turncoat Negro slave that rushed the massa to alert massa and the slave catcher that another slave was trying to escape from the plantation, And this is the same thing that's going on today with us as a people, which reflects our history as a people in this country up to now, today. So, I cannot wait on no people among our population as dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America that don't want to be free. I just cannot. I got to move on. And with that said, I I just don't, like I said before, it's not that I don't care about our people, but I just can't, hell, I could barely try to save my own self, let alone trying to save other people. I'm not here to save the world. I'm just here to send a message that hopefully we could all join together and turn our situation and reality around from what it is as a people here in America. Far as us as dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America being concerned. So, like I said before, we are in a time, in a situation that we either, snap out our slumber and get out of our cubby holes and, our comfort zones and strive to be free, even to the point if we got to die trying. It's never been a revolution or a struggle revolution in the world when it came to seeking liberation where death and bloodshed wasn't involved. Like a brother say, even with the possibility of bearing arms to go to war for our freedom is always on the table as well. Other than that, we gonna continue dying as slaves like we've been doing for almost going on 500 years. So, the thing about it is that why not die trying to be free, if not free? So, like I said before, we have to understand these things that we're up against if we really and be willing and ready to do something about it. And stop all the chitter-chatting and talking and the social media chitter-chatting and talking and all this other childish stuff going on throughout black social media and all that, and black YouTube and all this other crap, and get serious if we really want to be free. Otherwise, like I said before, relating back to when I was talking about, how I be looking at reports on more brothers and sisters getting killed in the streets, especially by racists. Hey, well, this is the type of society you rather stay in, you rather remain comfortable in. So, hey, you're going to keep getting what you're getting as a result. And I don't know how many times I could repeat that in so many words, so many different words. I don't know how many more times I could keep repeating that. It is what it is. And like I said before, I contend every day where I live at. I got to contend every day with walking out that door, dealing with racists, facing racists, dealing with racism as a dark-skinned descendant of a slave born in America. So like I said, don't get it mistaken. I care. But then on another hand, how can I care for people that don't really want to free themselves? Because ain't no God or no spaceship or mother plane ship gonna come from the sky nowhere else to do it. That's already been established, like I said before, we could keep on, taking this for a game if we want to, but it's going to continue on being what it's going to be. And I mean, hey, this is why I have a very low tolerance for stupidity, especially among the so-called black conscious, social media clique in the black conscious community, period. Which is why I left that blackety black, black conscious stuff alone anyway, because I knew it was a joke, and I don't have no tolerance for it. But I'll be willing to listen, even to people coming from that construct that's bringing some ideal to the table, that's meaningful, that's going to collectively go with whatever we can use to bring ourselves up out this situation that we in. I have no problem with that. But the rest of that other stuff, I have no patience for it. And I recall along down the line, even in my past videos, somewhere speaking on that. I just don't have no patience for it. And it's just crazy. Cause things is constantly getting worse for us every day as a people. And especially with that homelessness stuff that I started off with speaking on in this video, we are the majority among that homeless population that I've been speaking of in this video. That's the crazy part about it. So like I said before, here it is, it's 13% of us as dark-skinned. We are 13, us as dark-skinned descendants of slaves born here in America, we're 13% of the population. And we don't own no major stake in the wealth of this country, nor any major masses of land anywhere in this country. But we're 13% of the population. But yet, we comprise of being the majority among this nation's homeless population. So, that says something right there, straight to the heart, that we are in a more terrible, worse situation than what we think we are as a people, and like I said before, you got a few dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America that's millionaires and even billionaires. But you know what? I want to say something about that too, I don't I'm glad for them brothers and sisters that got that type of wealth. But you know what? At the end of the day, it don't mean nothing when the rest of their people, us as a people, are suffering. And another thing also, the fact that it don't mean nothing because they could lose it just as quick as it took them time to get it. Like I said, look at the cases like I spoke on in other videos, like people like Michael Jackson, Fred Sanford, Red Fox, Sammy Davis Jr., and some of these people, it was merely because they didn't pay their taxes. But the fact that they were dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America with the kind of wealth they had, it didn't take them white folks no time to snatch what they already had and has used other methods to take it from them. Like in the case of Michael Jackson, O.J. Simpson, and other different people from among dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America. So, when you sit around and think all of a sudden you have arrived, because you got all this money and wealth, but yet the rest of the majority of your people is poor, broke, hungry, and suffering and starving and being oppressed in this country, and you look the other way and don't give a damn, reality eventually will find its way of slapping you in the face just to remind you, hey, you still a nigga in America. And we see that happening all the time. Look at the situation with that guy Jesse Smollett, who they say faked being the victim of a beating because he was gay. Now they talking about trying to open the case back up on him. And eventually it's going to probably even lead to him getting sued in court. I mean, and it even affected him to the point where it's messed up his acting career, So, I mean, they got all kind of ways to deal with us. For those of us who think we have arrived because we are, those of you that are among the so-called rich and famous, they got something for you. And I'm one to warn you of that. I don't know about nobody else, but from what I see, they got something for you. And it's not nothing good. They'll love to bring you back to your knees and send you right back to the same ghettos or wherever you came from in America. And I'm not saying this out of hateration. I'm saying this out of reality. Because I want to see our people be successful. But the way they trying to be successful ain't obviously is provenly not the correct way. Because it does nothing really for them purposefully as individuals, nor for our people among the rest of the masses, far as us as dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America. We should be using the resources that we got among some of us like JC, Beyonce, Oprah Winfrey, Floyd Mayweather, LeBron James, to help our people. Especially in the type of crisis that we are in, like homelessness. We got them resources. This is why it's so important for us to have a safe haven, like a state behind us, that we can make these possibilities become a real reality. But our people is so greedy and so self-centered and only for self and individuals and only about their own self and individual families that they don't care about the rest. Like with that mentality, which is called, I got mine, get yours, that definitely ain't gotten us nowhere, So like I said before, I just want to send a warning out to those who are among the wealthy of our people, that hey, you could always, lose what you got. It's the point that I'm making. And the cracker got the power where they could use any method that they can to take it from you. And there ain't a damn thing you could do about it. So like I said before, keep thinking that doo-doo don't stink. I mean, and hey, my thing is this. I want to see us all successful as a people, but a free people. successful but a free people at the same time. Because the individual success we got don't amount up to nothing compared to the success we can have with totally being a liberated people from our over 400-year oppressor in this country, you know. But like I said before, you know, we have to really understand the reality of things. And like I heard one brother say in a video yesterday that I was on doing a live stream hangout, it got to start with self. And I totally agree with that. It do got to start with self. And you know, hey, you know, I'm about bettering myself today. But at the same time, we can all work together. Or enough of us could work together to turn our situation around for once and for all as a dark-skinned people in this country, to where we ain't got to worry about wanting for nothing. We ain't got to worry about homeless situations. We ain't got to worry about being targeted or constantly worried about looking over our shoulders because some racist cop want to blow our head off, or some other racists want to do some harm to us, you know, or our families, you know, and all this other crap. You know, we are in a very serious situation. This is not no game, you know, and but like I said before, you know, I just want to, you know, blurt out some things, you know, in this general discussion. And for those of you that may want to share some in the comment section, jot it down and I'll get back with you on that. Otherwise, you know, it's, hey, like someone by the name of Dr. Malachi Z. York, you know, who's an incarcerated Nubian leader, once said, the hourglass is running out. Keep playing with fire and you will be consumed by it. And with that said, peace.